On August 29, 2005, Hurricane Katrina slammed into the Gulf Coast. The storm's surge overwhelmed the levees protecting New Orleans. Within hours, 80% of the city was underwater. Nearly 1,400 people would die. Hundreds of thousands would be displaced. It remains one of the deadliest natural disasters in American history. And at the center of it all stood the mayor of New Orleans, Ray Nagin. In the days after the storm, Nagin became a national figure. His emotional radio interview, in which he told the federal government to get off your asses and help his drowning city, went viral. To many, he seemed like a man fighting for his people against an indifferent bureaucracy. But while New Orleans drowned and its residents suffered, something else was happening behind closed doors. Contractors were cutting deals. Cash was changing hands. Free granite was being delivered by the truckload to a company owned by the mayor and his sons. This is the story of how Ray Nagin looted New Orleans. Clarence Ray Nagin Jr. was born on June 11, 1956 in New Orleans. His father worked 2 jobs, as a janitor at City Hall and a fabric cutter. His mother managed a restaurant at Kmart. Nagin attended Tuskegee University on a baseball scholarship, graduating with a degree in accounting in 1978. He went to work for General Motors, then returned to New Orleans in 1985 to work for Cox Communications. He rose to vice president and general manager, earning $400,000 a year. He had never held political office, but in 2002, he entered the race for mayor on the final day of qualifying. He campaigned as a business reformer who would clean up corruption. He defeated Police Chief Richard Pennington with 59% of the vote. 2 months after taking office, Nagin ordered a massive corruption crackdown on the city's taxicab licensing and vehicle inspection systems. 84 warrants were issued. Among those arrested was his own cousin. When asked what should be done about him, Nagin quipped, "If he's guilty, arrest him." His approval rating shot to 80%. Ray Nagin had arrived in January 2005, 8 months before Hurricane Katrina, Nagin created a company called Stone Age LLC. It was a granite countertop business based in New Orleans. His sons, Jeremy and Jaron, were partners. Jeremy served as president. Jaron and Ray Nagin worked as vice presidents. Nagin owned 40% of the company. A sitting mayor had launched a business that would depend on construction contracts and real estate development. In a city about to receive billions of dollars in federal reconstruction money, the relationship between Stone Age and city business would become central to everything that followed. On August 26, 2005, as Hurricane Katrina churned toward the Gulf Coast, Nagin advised New Orleanians to prepare for evacuation. But he stopped short of ordering one. He was concerned about legal liability and had been mocked the previous year for ordering a voluntary evacuation for Hurricane Ivan, which then turned away. After receiving a late-night phone call from Max Mayfield, director of the National Hurricane Center, Nagin finally ordered a mandatory evacuation on Sunday morning, August 28th. It was the first such order in the city's nearly 300-year history. He gave residents less than 24 hours notice. Approximately 80% of the population evacuated, but an estimated 100,000 to 150,000 people remained. Many were poor, many lacked cars. The city opened the Superdome as a shelter of last resort. About 26,000 people would crowd inside with limited supplies and no adequate plan for security or sanitation. When asked why he didn't use city school buses to evacuate those without transportation, Nagin cited insurance concerns. Photographs of those buses, sitting flooded in a parking lot, became symbols of the failed response. Katrina made landfall on August 29th as a Category 3 hurricane. The storm surge proved catastrophic. 23 breaches opened in the levees. Water poured into the city. Some neighborhoods were submerged under 15 feet of water. The federal response was disastrously slow. For days, residents remained stranded on rooftops or packed into the Superdome and Convention Center without adequate food, water, or medical care. On September 1st, Nagin gave an explosive interview to WWL Radio. His frustration boiled over. "I don't want to see anybody do any more goddamn press conferences," he said. "Put a moratorium on press conferences. Don't do another press conference until the resources are in this city." He compared the response to Katrina unfavorably with the reaction to 9/11 and the Iraq War. "Don't tell me 40,000 people are coming here. They're not here. It's too doggone late. Now get off your asses and let's do something, and let's fix the biggest goddamn crisis in the history of this country." The interview went viral. To many Americans watching the disaster unfold on television, Nagin seemed to be speaking for the forgotten people of New Orleans. His raw anger resonated. He was re-elected in May 2006, defeating Lieutenant Governor Mitch Landrieu with 52% of the vote. 2/3 of the city's residents were still displaced. But behind the scenes, a very different story was unfolding. While New Orleans was rebuilding, contractors were circling. Billions of dollars in federal money was flowing into the city, and some of those contractors wanted to make sure they got their share. Rodney Williams ran Threefold Consultants, an engineering firm. According to federal prosecutors, Williams and his partners paid approximately $60,000 in bribes to Nagin and his sons. In return, they received city contracts worth millions of dollars. Williams later testified that the payments began after Hurricane Katrina, when contractors were scrambling for potentially lucrative rebuilding work. He said Nagin's sons approached him seeking money. He paid. The bribes were deposited into Stone Age, the Nagin family's granite company. The payments were disguised as investments. Frank Fradella was another contractor doing business with the city. He ran a disaster construction company called Home Solutions of America. According to court testimony, Fradella had ambitious plans, turning the abandoned Six Flags amusement park in eastern New Orleans into a NASCAR racetrack, redeveloping the vacant Market Street power plant into a mixed-use project. The only value he was bringing to these projects was Ray Nagin, one of his associates later testified. Ray Nagin was always viewed as Frank's guy. Fradella paid Nagin a $50,000 bribe through an elaborate scheme. Michael McGrath, an investor in Fradella's company, had to route the money through his daughter's trust account because he couldn't find anyone else willing to write the check. How do you ask someone to bribe someone? "You know, that's not related to the transaction," McGrath later asked on the witness stand. It was hard to find someone to write that check. They created bogus paperwork describing an ownership stake in Stone Age. It was a bribe dressed up as a business deal. But that wasn't all. Fradella also arranged for truckloads of free granite to be shipped from Tampa to the Nagin family's countertop company. When the first shipment arrived damaged, Nagin's son Jeremy sent an angry email complaining that more than half the slabs were unusable. Fradella sent another shipment. Prosecutors estimated the granite was worth at least $50,000. The Nagins never paid a cent. In exchange, Nagin promoted Fradella's development projects and attended out-of-state meetings to endorse them. There were other deals. Mark St. Pierre was a technology vendor who received a no-bid contract from the city. He provided Nagin with free vacation trips to Jamaica and Hawaii. Greg Meffert was Nagin's chief technology officer. He helped arrange the trips, using St. Pierre's credit card to pay for the mayor's plane tickets. Meffert would later be charged with 63 felony counts in what authorities described as a kickback scheme. He eventually pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud and filing a false tax return. A movie theater owner seeking tax breaks provided Nagin's family with a trip to New York City. The city forgave the theater's overdue fees. After Nagin left office in 2010, Fradella's associate arranged for him to receive $12,500 per month for green energy consulting. It was more money from the same network of contractors: the granite, the cash, the trips, the consulting fees. According to prosecutors, it all added up to more than $500,000 in bribes. In April 2010, A New Orleans television station filed a Freedom of Information Act request for Nagin's official emails. What they discovered was alarming. Nagin had deleted thousands of emails from his time in office. A forensic investigation by a computer firm called Sunblock Systems recovered 5,400 deleted messages. Many showed meetings and communications with the businessmen who would later testify they had bribed him. The mayor had tried to hide the evidence. He failed. On January 18, 2013, a federal grand jury indicted Ray Nagin on 21 corruption charges. The counts included wire fraud, conspiracy, bribery, money laundering, and filing false tax returns from 2005 to 2008. Despite New Orleans' long history of political corruption, Nagin was the first mayor in the city's history to be criminally charged for corruption in office. Nagin pleaded not guilty. His attorney, Robert Jenkins, argued that prosecutors were overstating the mayor's ability to control city contracts. He said there was no direct proof that money and material given to Stone Age was tied to city business. The trial began in January 2014. Prosecutors called 33 witnesses over 5 days. One after another, they told the same story. Rodney Williams described paying $60,000 in bribes in exchange for city contracts worth millions. Frank Fradella described the granite shipments, the $50,000 payment, and the consulting arrangement after Nagin left office. Michael McGrath explained routing the bribe through his daughter's trust account because he couldn't find anyone else willing to write the check. A Home Depot official testified that Nagin approached the company's CEO about steering contracts to Stone Age while helping the retailer with a new store opening. A financial analyst presented the bottom line. Nagin had received $511,000 in money, travel, phone service, granite, and other benefits. Nagin took the stand in his own defense. He denied the allegations. He said payments to his son's company were legitimate investments. Like any father, he said, I wanted to help my sons. The jury didn't believe him. On February 12, 2014, Ray Nagin was convicted on 20 of 21 counts: conspiracy, bribery, wire fraud, money laundering, filing false tax returns. On July 9, 2014, Ray Nagin's 58th birthday, Judge Helen Ginger Berrigan sentenced him to 10 years in federal prison and ordered him to pay more than $585,000 in restitution. Prosecutors had sought 20 years. The judge gave him half that. Observers suggested Nagin appeared to be the recipient of bribes rather than the instigator. Ray Nagin's sentencing brings to a close a sordid chapter in New Orleans history, said Rafael C. Goyeneche III, president of the Metropolitan Crime Commission, in which the man charged with leading a city out of crisis instead chose to enrich himself, his family, and friends. By sentencing, Nagin claimed to be broke. His family was subsisting on $1,200 per month, including $360 in food stamps. A judge declared him indigent and appointed a public defender for his appeal. On September 8, 2014, Ray Nagin reported to the Federal Correctional Institution in Texarkana, Texas. The investigation revealed a network of corruption extending beyond Nagin. Rodney Williams was sentenced to 1 year. Frank Fradella served 1 year after his testimony helped convict Nagin. Michael McGrath had his 14-year sentence for unrelated mortgage fraud cut in half for cooperating. Mark St. Pierre's 17-year sentence was reduced to 5. Greg Meffert received 30 months instead of 8 years. All of them served less time than the mayor they helped convict. In April 2020, during the COVID-19 pandemic, federal authorities released Nagin to home confinement. The Bureau of Prisons was under orders to release vulnerable inmates when possible. He had served a little over half of his 10-year sentence. Nagin remained under community confinement for 2 years, ending in March 2022. He then served 2 years of supervised probation. On March 16, 2024, Ray Nagin completed the terms of his sentence. He marked the occasion on social media with a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. "Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last." The irony was not lost on the people of New Orleans. Nearly 20 years after Hurricane Katrina, the storm remains a defining tragedy in American history. The failed levees, the flooded streets, the thousands stranded at the Superdome. But for the people of New Orleans, there was another betrayal. Their mayor, the man who stood before the cameras and demanded help for his drowning city, was taking bribes while they suffered. Ray Nagin came to office as a reformer. He promised to clean up corruption. He arrested his own cousin to prove his commitment. In the end, he became exactly what he had promised to fight. Our elected officials are entrusted to place the interests of the citizens above their own, United States Attorney Kenneth Allen Polite Jr. said after Nagin's sentencing. When they violate that trust and break the law, the U.S. Attorney's Office will pursue them zealously and bring them to justice. Ray Nagin was the first mayor of New Orleans ever convicted of corruption. His story stands as a reminder that when the waters rise, not everyone is trying to help. Some are just trying to get theirs.